Thank you for staying with us. And this is the home stretch. We're stretching out today towards home with you and living. And we're focusing on social distancing. Yep. A new word everyone has been using based on the advice going by the WHO to curb the spread of the coronavirus, and that is social distancing. How many know the meaning of social distancing? Social distancing, well, put it together, what exactly does it mean? To help us understand it is a human behavior consultant, Mr. Collins Nwosu, who joins us via Skype. Hello, Mr. Nwosu.
Hello, Nota. Good to be here.
How are you doing?
Yeah, holding on. Doing my own part of social distancing at this time.
Yeah, social distancing, and we're talking about Skype. So just tell us real quick, what does social distancing mean?
I can say what it doesn't mean because I think other guests have really done a good job. Doc, Prof, they've done a good job of describing what social distancing is. But permit me to say what it is from a perspective of impact and what it is not. One, social distancing is not social isolation. Right now, I'm unable to come to your studio. That could be considered social distancing, but I'm communicating with you via Skype. So looking for alternatives to communicate and congregate is a means of social distancing. So social distancing basically is just a way of keeping, let's say, healthy distance from other people. And it's not new, really. It's not new. It's just that we're becoming more conscious of it. Have you ever seen or had been to an office where people just step into your face? They want to talk, but they want to talk right up your face, up close. There has to be a safe distance between you and the person to communicate properly. But some do not respect that. So this is more a way of saying, you have to respect people's spaces. You have to stay away from give some respectable distance that people should be able to feel comfortable to do what they're doing. That's what social distancing is. And that's different from isolation. It's different from self-quarantine, which are also buzzwords that are coming up at this time.
Okay, but now that we're talking this, you say it is not isolating. It's not isolation, so to speak, but it's about respecting space. In this case now, respecting the other person's space for the purpose of healthy living, for the purpose of curbing the spread of the coronavirus. How do we practice social distance in such a way that it doesn't come off as abusive?
I think a lot lies on leadership. And when I say leadership, I'm not just referring to political leadership. I'm referring to fathers who are leaders in their homes. I'm referring to CEOs who are responsible for other people's lives. People who are in positions of authority and influence should be the ones who would help to make sure that there is a healthy social distance. For instance, I've had to cancel in some instances and reschedule some of my training sessions, which ordinarily for me would be loss of revenue, so to speak, right? But having to do them online is now the alternative, which is making me socially responsible. So being socially responsible is an integral part of social distancing. So you have to ask those who are in charge of people congregating in large spaces to say, hey, look, what can we do differently? Football matches have been cancelled. That's the social responsibility, and that's social distancing right there. Other festivities are being cancelled, the Olympics being postponed. These are people coming up to the plate and saying, in spite of my personal needs, my personal wants, whatever my personal benefits are for a particular thing that I do, I am going to be at this time socially responsible. So integral part of social distance is a social responsibility, which we must all practice. So if I am going to, mosques, I can pray in my house. If it's the church, I can pray with my family. Those things are things that we'll have to do for now, at this time, so that for the greater good. It's always about the greater good. So if we think in terms of what will be the ultimate greater good, then we take actions that are responsible. I saw a tweet. Someone said, "Hey," he was talking about one of Nigeria's billionaires, and said, "Look, if there are no people, then there'll be no business. If there's no business, you cannot be a billionaire." It's the same thing. If we do not take the hard decisions, and I think when I say it's about leadership and social responsibility, if a leader's responsibility at this time is to define reality and take the hard decisions, I think those are the things that are required for us to do at this time to achieve social distancing in a responsible manner.
You know that human beings and coming together is like there's no, well, that's what makes a human being human. That need to bond, that need to relate. But here we have a situation that's forcing people apart. Do you see this thing coming off well, eventually people buying into it as quickly as they should, especially when you look at the emotional need of the human, the economic need of human? We just finished talking about transportation and social distancing. Let's look at it from those two sides. Emotional need of the human being and the economic need of the human being that will demand that the human being meets with other human beings. How would this work?
I think the face of work, the face of interaction is significantly going to change. It has been in the offing for a bit, but right now it's going to be accelerated with what we've just seen or what we're seeing in this pandemic. I'll give an example. Workspaces would no longer require people to physically be present. You may now end up having routine jobs, having schedules. You would we expect to begin to see homeowners building personal spaces. So studies that we used to have back in the days would come back. So if you're going to have an interview, job interview, perhaps expect the question, do you have a home office from where you can work? Those things are going to be what we expect to take the fall. The face of deliveries through maybe drones, use of the internet would also increase. That's what we expect to see in the coming future. So the face of business, the space of work, the space of human interaction would change. Before now, we used to send letters. You'd write a letter, put it in the post box. It takes a while to get to the other person. This was hastened by sending emails. We changed the face of communication. Then we now have telephones that is changing the face of communication. And, telephonic calls like we're having right now is also changing the face of communication, but this would increase. So with that increase, question is, how do you position for it? Is it a bad thing? Is it a good thing? We will congregate. We will still meet up. But now it's just that we'll be using virtual spaces to do more of what we want to do. And it's an opportunity also for us
you see what happens when we try to, all those things that we say are going to take the place of coming together. Well, for now, we need them. But yeah, hopefully we'll get Mr. Nwosu back to tell us again if social distancing is equal stigmatization, as some people think. Some people think the fact that you do not want to come to see them means you're stigmatizing them and they begin to feel bad about it. I don't know if we have Mr. Nwosu back. Okay, but we'll take a moment and we will come back. And when we do come back, we'll look at again how effective we can all be together. Then there are those who are sending in comments. Osila for real says is concerned about the number of reported COVID cases in Rivers State. It says we're quite interactive, house experts and politically exposed persons, and he or she, Osila for real, wants some clarification and reassurance that things are okay in Rivers State. You'll get that very soon. So we'll be back in a moment to continue the conversation with Mr. Nwosu, hopefully. Don't go away.
It's about 48 hours since the coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, found its way into Nigeria through an Italian man. While the case was discovered in Lagos State, other states, including the Federal Capital Territory, are taking preventive measures. Residents of the Federal Capital Territory say they have nothing to fear.
It's just for one to be careful and be clean, use your hand sanitizer. Make sure you always wash your hands.
I think I have mask, and I'm also teaching my children how to sanitize themselves through. They can wash their hands if they do anything. Minimize the way they move, where we go.
Some say face masks and hand sanitizers are now either expensive or scarce.
Oh, it was very difficult to get the hand sanitizer. It was more difficult than even the mask. We had to go really far. Like this one, we got it for 7,500.
Some of the hospitals we contacted declined to respond on how prepared they are. But the FCT administration seems prepared for any case.
We've trained the disease surveillance and notification officers along with the assistants across the 6 area councils, and then the monitoring and evaluation officers and the local immunization officers. And we have trained 310 healthcare workers. And then we have our hospitals where we have made available bed spaces for management of these patients in case we get any. 2 bed spaces in National Hospital and 2 in the University of Abuja Teaching Hospital in their isolation unit that are permanently there in case we have such patients.
Professor Nasidi Abdusalami, who was part of the team that handled the Ebola virus in 2015, believes COVID-19 can be dealt with just like the Ebola virus.
So Nigeria has already a ready-to-go response team that worked on the Ebola. They can be mobilized now and to go and do aggressive contact tracing. Then West Africa is also there. We have trained so many people from different countries by Nigerian CDC and then by the ECOWAS CDC, and these people are on standby. So we can mobilize them. We don't need to wait until every country is caught before we engage them. We should bring them in. We should bring them from all the West African countries to come and face Lagos, do aggressive contact tracing, be ahead of that virus and contain it within the primary and secondary contacts.
In spite of the index case, public awareness is key. Everyone is advised to, among other things, maintain good respiratory hygiene and regularly wash their hands thoroughly with soap and water. Hand sanitizers are valuable companions at this time as well. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Thank you. We have Mr. Nwosu back. Mr. Nwosu, who is a human behavior consultant. Yeah, just before we lost you there, I was asking the question as regards stigmatization. There are those who think that social distancing is stigmatization, that you're avoiding them. How do we get people to change that thought pattern?
I already mentioned leadership and leadership at different levels, starting from family level, starting from community level, and this comes with a lot of awareness. Max Dupree is noted as saying that the first responsibility of a leader is to define reality. So those who are in charge of others, who influence others, must define this reality. We have to have our online bloggers. We have to have the offline the bloggers as well. The pastors, priests, the imams. As I said, family leaders telling others what this really means, what it implies, what the impact and the import is. So it's not that I am avoiding you; it is that I am trying to protect you. It's a question of love. It's not a question of avoidance. Love in itself should be the thing that keeps us going. I love you enough to tell you I have to stay away from you for now. You have to stay away from me for now. We don't have to commingle. I don't have to hug you to show you that I love you. But part of my showing you that I love you is to stay away. It's tough. It's tough love, but it's something that we have to start doing. It's something that we have to start sharing, especially for people who are high touch, people who want to always, their love language is to touch and hug and all. But you have to communicate. And I think at a national level, communication also will be the key. Just as we're having the media, we need the National Orientation Agency, the Ministry of Information. We need more information to go out to tell people what this is and what it isn't, so that fear doesn't take over. Fear is going to be one of the biggest killers. Fear and ignorance will be one of the biggest killers of this time. Not just social distances or ignorance or what it isn't. But as I'm saying, information, love, and the influencers and those who are in positions of leadership telling others around them and those that influence what it is and what it isn't.
Wind down now. You mentioned these words, fear and ignorance. Talk to us about curbing the spread of COVID-19 and overcoming fear and ignorance, even as we do social distancing.
What you don't know is what kills you. We've been asked to wash our hands. We've been advised to use sanitizers. We've been advised to make sure. Those who are in charge of public transport are advising members have one passenger in front, two in the middle, and two at the back of buses. Those things can be communicated in a way that people realize that it's not a question of fear. It's a question of let's be precautious. There's this old saying in my place: the cautious approach of a lion does not denote cowardice. And these are the kinds of sayings we have to start sharing. Ignorance can only be replaced by knowledge. Knowledge can only come about by awareness. And that means that people have to tell them. Who's going to tell them? You're saying it on channels. I'm saying it in the spaces that I am in charge of. Others are doing the same. So that's how we dispel fear. That's how we dispel fear, by giving people the right information at the right time. Leaders do need to step up to the plate and say, I am in charge of this, I'm in charge of my space, and this is what I am doing. This is the effect. We're having Lagos State government do very well in this. They're a good example to Nigeria and to Africa what should be done to deal with fear. Same thing in Rwanda. This is what we need to do to deal with fear. But it's a lot about communication. There's a lot about information, and it's not for one person to do. So when you get a post on your Instagram or on your Facebook or on your WhatsApp, and you look at it, you have to filter it and know, should I pass this on? Will this help the next person, or is this going to create fear? This is not the time for sensational news. Oh, my neighbor just coughed all through the night. That's not the kind of information you should pass across. That's the one you should pass to the NCDC. But the one that you should put in the public spaces would be more of, hey, have you been washing your hands lately? Do you have access to sanitizers? Others don't. Those are the things. And remember, I said it's based out of love. If we realize that we're operating from a position of love, we would act differently. We would treat people differently. So that's important. So the leadership, communication, love. Those are the ways to manage and to dispel fear in these times.
Thank you very much, Mr. Collins Nwosu, human behavior consultant. Thank you for sharing these thoughts with us on you and living on Sunrise today. Thank you. We wish you well. Do stay safe and keep the distance, as you said, and as you said, driven by love. God bless you. All right. And now, before we go, just a quick one for all of us. So if you take the word virus, V-I-R-U-S, V-I-R-U-S, take out the I and the U. You find out that the chain is broken. Now, this is a tweet credited to a former British High Commissioner to Nigeria. He says, if you take the I and U out of virus, the chain is broken, aka social distancing. So if I take me, I'm at home, and you're far, and we have that distance between us, we break the chain of transmission and we can curb the spread. That's the word for today. I and you are the virus, and we're good to go. Thank you for letting us be a part of your day. Go out there and be the best you can be. Be at home. Share the time with your family and loved ones. Make a phone call. Find out how your friend is doing, how your sister or relative is doing. Be the best you can be and serve. God bless you. Till we come your way again, it's bye-bye.